Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us this morning for what I do hope will be an informative session for you. I'm Kate Weatherly, Unit Manager of Economic Development at the City of Whittlesea, and I'll be guiding us through today's session. Today, the City of Whittlesea has teamed up with Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions and the Victorian Small Business Commission to bring you the latest information regarding COVID-19 support and requirements relevant to your small business. From the City of Whittlesea, I'm joined by the City of Whittlesea's Chair Administrator Lydia Wilson, Administrator Chris Eddy, Administrator Peter Duncan, our CEO Craig Lloyd, and Director of Planning and Development Justin O'Mara. I'll now hand you over to Chair Administrator Lydia Wilson, who will offer a formal welcome and introduce our presenters. Thanks, Lydia.
Thank you, Kate, and I'm really pleased to be here with you today, and a warm welcome to everyone also. As is customary, on behalf of the City of Whittlesea, I would like to recognise the rich Aboriginal heritage of this country and acknowledge the Wurundjeri Willem clan as the traditional owners of this place. And I also pay my respects to their elders, past, present and emerging. Can I also acknowledge my administrator colleagues, Ms Duncan and Mr Eddy, and our Chief Executive Officer and other members of the executive leadership team. So again, welcome everyone to this really important information session for our business community. Our business community has clearly displayed enormous resilience and adaptability throughout the pandemic. The lockdowns and restrictions have made it really difficult for many of our businesses to operate, and many are counting down the days to when you can return to the pre-pandemic operating conditions. And I know that I certainly am for one. Council is really committed to supporting businesses throughout this time and helping them recover from the pandemic. And we recognise so clearly that a strong business community is vital for the region's recovery, and it's really critical for local employment as well. Council is really delighted to have representatives joining us from the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions, DJPR, and the Victorian Small Business Commission today. From DJPR, I'd like to welcome Barbara Cullen, who is the Director, Industry Sector Engagement, Industry Coordination and Recovery, and also Melissa Virgos, Senior Project Officer, Delivery Network, Jobs, Innovation and Business Engagement. And I'm also really delighted that we have in attendance from the Victorian Small Business Commission, and would really like to warmly welcome Commissioner Linda McAllery-Smith. The session that is about to commence is going to provide you with information about the current grants and support programs available to business, exposure site processes, staff vaccinations, and importantly, how to look after your mental health during this time. And I'm now going to pass back to Kate, who's going to guide you through the rest of the forum. Unfortunately, I won't be able to stay right through to the end of the session, but I'm going to be very keen to hear the outcomes and some of the questions and issues that are raised. Thank you, and over to you, Kate.
Thank you, Administrator Wilson, for your warm welcome. I'd like to start with a little virtual housekeeping. This is a 90-minute session, which will include approximately half an hour at the end for your questions and answers at the end of the presentations. We'll be using the Menti platform for any questions. Up on the screen now, you will see two ways to join. For those of you with a smartphone, the simplest way to join is to use your smartphone QR code scanner through your camera. If you scan this, it will take you straight to the page where you can submit your questions. For those of you who can't use the QR code scanner, please go to menti.com and enter the code 229-05401. That's up on the screen now, or we will put this code up again several times during today's session in case you've missed it. Please submit your questions throughout the presentations as they arise, and we'll endeavour to answer them all in the Q&A session at the end of the presentations. The session's also being streamed live to YouTube, but it will be available after the session concludes. So if you do miss anything, you can use the link we provided to watch it later. And please do share with your networks. We really want to make sure that this reaches everybody that it needs to. So without further ado, I'll now hand over to Commissioner Linda McAlary-Smith from the Victorian Small Business Commission. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Kate, and a warm welcome to everyone for taking the time out to join in the webinar today. I'll just share my screen with you. Amy, if you can stop sharing your screen, then I can jump in and share. Fantastic. Thank you very much. I'll get the slides up for you. There we go. Can you see that now? That's all up? Yes? Okay, great. Fantastic. Fantastic, thank you. So I thought what I'd do is just very quickly cover off a bit of information about what we do here at the Small Business Commission for those of you who might not be aware. The Small Business Commission is an independent government agency, and our job is to support small businesses in understanding what their rights and obligations are, and where you have a dispute, we can provide a low cost or often free dispute resolution service that takes all the stress out of managing disputes that you might have as a small business operator, and avoids the cost and stress of going to courts or tribunals as well. So if you're a small business owner, one thing I'd really like you to take away from today is that we're very much here to support you both through advice and in practical help as well. In my time with you today, I'll cover off a bit about the work about what we do here at the Commission. I'll go through in a bit of detail the Commercial Tenancy Relief Scheme, which has been reintroduced, which I know that a number of you are interested to hear about. There is a lot of detail and content attached to the scheme, so we have some great information available on our website at vsbc.vic.gov.au. I'll make sure you get the slides for today as well, so you'll have the reference information for the content that I'm sharing with you. But I really do encourage you to have a look at our website. There's a heap of information about how the scheme works, including a number of frequently asked questions, template documents, sort of draft letters if you're requesting rent relief, or if you're a small business landlord and you're responding, how you need to respond. So I'll cover off the high points today, but in relation to really usable tools, there's a heap of information on our website. I'll also quickly cover off our dispute resolution services, which are available to you much more broadly, even outside COVID times, and then just quickly touch on some of the mental wellbeing resources that are available to support you as well. So in terms of the Commercial Tenancy Relief Scheme, the scheme was reintroduced and is effective from the 28th of July this year, and it's running through to the 15th of January 2022. One thing I'd really encourage is if you've had involvement in the previous schemes that were in place previously, please do check in again on our website, because there are some key differences. So don't just assume that because you understood the previous schemes that the current scheme operates in the same way. So the scheme provides eligible businesses, and I'll step you through in a second what is an eligible business, the ability to obtain proportionate rent relief. There's also a freeze on rent increases and evictions for not paying rent if you fall within the scheme for that period of time up until the 15th of January 2022, as long as you're eligible. There are some special requirements as well for new businesses. So if you are a new business or a sole trader, you can still access this scheme, but I would encourage you to have a look at our website, because there's some really handy tables which set out sort of depending on the date when you started your business, if it was before COVID or if it was after COVID, and some key dates. We kind of step you through what would apply to you. So in terms of what the scheme actually involves and our role here at the Commission, we play a key role in not only providing advice like we are today, but also in providing early help and free mediation. So no cost whatsoever for eligible rent relief disputes. So, and that includes for people who are small businesses who are having, or landlords who are having trouble with small businesses paying their rent in a commercial context. That even extends to if you're not actually eligible for the scheme. So if you're a small business or a landlord with a small business, and sometimes that's one in the same as well, and you've got a dispute relating to commercial rent relief, we can provide free mediation services. I've also got the ability to set a binding order to prescribe what the rent relief should be, sort of as an option of last resort, I guess, before the parties might need to go on to VCAT. We've got a team of fantastic trained dispute resolution officers here at the Commission who are fantastic at helping early resolution of disputes. So around 40% of disputes that come to us formally, about 40% don't even need to go through to mediation. Our dispute resolution officers can sort it out by having conversations with the parties, and that independence can sometimes just be the circuit breaker that is needed. And we've got a team of nationally accredited independent mediators who are fantastic at the job that they do as well. And of the disputes that would go through to mediation, over 80% of those resolve at mediation to the party's satisfaction, so that there's no need to go onto court. A big theme that comes through for our approach and our principles around our dispute resolution is preservation of the relationship. In a commercial relationship as a small business operator, often you want to remain in that commercial relationship with the individual or company that you're in dispute with. So we take very much a holistic view and really encourage the parties to be empowered to find solutions that work for both of them, because we're really conscious that if you're a small business who's invested in potentially bricks and mortar store or a restaurant or something like that, you've built up your business to be in that location. You might have put a lot of money into fit out, and aside from the rent dispute you might be in right now, you hopefully want to be able to have a constructive relationship with your landlord moving forward as well. So in terms of who's eligible, if you're a small to medium enterprise with a turnover of less than $50 million per annum, and you have also experienced a fall in turnover of more than 30% during the relevant time. So the relevant period is a 3-month, it has to be a consecutive period, so a 3-month block, some point between the 1st of April this year and the 30th of September this year, when compared to the same 3 months in 2019. So if, for example, your turnover was most impacted in, say, June, July and August of this year, you could choose June, July and August as your period to say, this is my turnover period, to say that it's declined by more than 30%. You'd need to use June, July and August from 2019 as a comparison. So 3 months together and the same 3 months in 2019. If you have started a business more recently, you weren't operating in 2019, for example, there's pathways provided on our website which explain the different calculations that apply to you, because there's quite a few different options that you have. And you can't be an excluded tenant. And again, our website sets that out. Predominantly it relates to issues relating to insolvency. So there's the website there, vsbc.vic.gov.au as well, for you to have a look at. So in terms of making a rent relief request, you need to make your request in writing, and it needs to be accompanied by the required information. And this is a really important part, because sometimes what we're seeing through the disputes that are starting to come through to us is that there might have been more informal conversations or emails sort of being exchanged in a more informal way that sort of go to a version of asking for rent relief, but not in a bit more of a clear set out in 1 or 2 documents sort of way. So I really do encourage you to use our templates, because our templates set out the rent relief requests, set out exactly what you need to do, and then there can be no argument about whether or not you've made a legitimate rent relief request. So that rent relief request, which you can use our template, so don't worry about needing to figure out what it should look like. You just need to populate the information. Needs to state that you're an eligible tenant and why. It needs to specify really clearly why you satisfy the decline in turnover test, how you got to that, how you worked that out, the different periods that you used. And you need to provide evidence that backs up what you're saying in terms of your turnover. And you need to do that within 14 days of making your request as well. So the evidence can be in a couple of different forms, which are set out there, that could include BAS or downloads from the software that you're using, for example, or a statement from your accountant. It also has to be accompanied by a statutory declaration, which you yourself would sign. So what does this mean in practice? What is actually the rent relief? So if you make a compliant offer to your landlord must respond within 14 days, and that offer has to relate to 100% of the rent payable during the rent relief period. So the whole of the rental amount is on the table. As a minimum, the rent relief that you would be entitled to is proportionate to your decline in turnover. And of that rent relief, you're entitled to a waiver of at least 50% of the relief offered, with the remainder deferred, unless otherwise agreed with you. And we're seeing examples of landlords and tenants coming to all kinds of arrangements. We're also seeing sometimes with small businesses looking ahead for future profitability and business sustainability, preferring not to defer as well. So if it's something that you as a small business operator don't want to do, you don't have to defer it, but it's just that if it's something that you feel you need, you can defer at the moment. So if I'll give you a real example. So if, for example, your lease was $10,000 a month and you'd had 40% rent reduction, 40% reduction in your turnover, you would need to pay the 60% of your rent, so the $6,000 of your turnover that's being maintained. And that's a really important point. You need to continue to pay the proportion of where your turnover is at. So with that $10,000 example, $6,000 you would pay as you normally would. Then that means that because you've had a 40% reduction in your turnover, you're entitled to $4,000 worth of rent relief, which is the 40%. Of that, half, so $2,000, can be deferred and $2,000 is waived, forgiven, never to have to be paid back again. The deferral point is a really important one because the payment is from no earlier than the 15th of January next year. So an important thing to think about in terms of your deferral is that you do, of course, need to pay it back eventually. Our website sets out for you really clearly the way in which you can reach agreement on paying back the deferral. But effectively, you have up to around 24 months to pay that back. But you do need to be planning for when you are deferring the rent for a situation post-COVID where you can get your business to a point where it's profitable, not only on a day-to-day basis as you previously understood pre-COVID, but with that ability to meet your deferred liabilities as well. So in terms of your response, you then need to come back within 15 days to say yes or no to what's on the table. And those deadlines are really important because if you don't respond within that time frame, so if your landlord comes back with a rent relief offer that for some reason you don't think's right, if you don't do anything about that in the 15 days, then you've lost the ability to reject it. So that's a really important part. In terms of next steps, so if you can't reach an agreement, and we're certainly seeing at the moment financial capacity is a real issue, obviously, for both parties in terms of ability to reach resolution. And, everybody's sort of in a heightened environment of stress and pressure at the moment. So this is where we can step in and help and hopefully be a bit of a circuit breaker. So if you've had a go at trying to resolve this with your landlord and you haven't been able to do that, you can request through our website our help. So a case officer will be assigned to you and get in contact with you, your landlord, have a chat to both of you about what the scheme requires, or if you're not eligible, about your circumstances, and endeavour to reach a resolution between yourselves. If that can't be resolved, then we can book in a time for you to have a formal mediation with one of our mediators. So in terms of mediations, at the moment, I'll use that horrible word that's overused. We pivoted during the early stages of COVID, and our mediations predominantly used to be face-to-face. So you had to come into Exhibition Street in the city, and we have lovely mediation rooms. Hopefully, we'll be able to use again in the not too distant future in some way. But a wonderful thing that's come out from our service is our ability to still do these mediations in a virtual way. So they're usually through Zoom or Microsoft Teams or some other platforms, so through a video basis. You still get breakout rooms, like you'd have a room off to the side with a mediation normally, so you can have private conversations with your support people or advisors and with the mediator without the other party being privy to that. And we can also do telephone as well if video doesn't work for you. So one of the advantages of that is we're able to schedule them within a broad sort of periods of time as well, which works for you as well. The idea with the mediation is very much that flexible, creative solutions can be on the table, and our mediators are very well trained in understanding the commercial realities of running small businesses. Usually they're actually small business operators themselves and previously have worked in a number of different areas as well. So the idea is that you'd be empowered to be able to resolve the dispute with your landlord together, and that way you're able to take ownership of the outcome, which is really important important, particularly for those relationships which are ongoing. Ideally, you don't want to be in a situation where you're in a state of high conflict, or you come to some resolution during COVID, which sets you off on a bad pathway for the next few years and sets you up with regular intervals of conflict. We don't want that for you. It takes you away from your business and creates a lot of stress that you don't need. So we're here to help. A key part of it is if the parties agree, that we get people to sign up on the agreement on the spot. So we can still do that virtually via email and other sort of means as well. So that's a really important part, because we find when people can kind of come together on the day, they come with an open heart and spirit to resolve the matter, they agree to terms of settlement, we can get it sorted, it's locked in, and then you can get back to running your business. If you can't agree, and certainly in the COVID environment, obviously people are under a lot more financial pressure, so that is a contributing factor. We can issue a certificate saying mediation has failed, and then the parties are free to pursue the matter at VCAT or at court, or as I said before, could issue a binding order. So in terms of what a binding order might look like, that's where, based on all of the information available, we've gone through a mediation process. It's been determined that the mediation's failed or is unlikely to resolve the dispute, or that the parties haven't sufficiently engaged or in good faith. That there's a compliant request, which is why using our templates is a great idea, because you'll be certain that they are, and that there's not already action on foot. I can actually issue a binding order that requires the landlord to provide the rent relief in the prescribed form as well. And again, this is about trying to stop small businesses getting caught up in disputes in the courts. In terms of just some couple of other factors which I touched on earlier, but just to reinforce, the rent increases are paused and not to be clawed back during this period as well. So if you are an eligible tenant and you're participating in the scheme, and for example, your lease provided for a rent increase annually, say in November, while you're in this protected period, that rent increase can't happen, and nor can it be applied afterwards as well. So if it was an annual increase of say 5% or what have you, that it comes up in November, this rent increase that would normally apply under the terms of your lease can't be imposed, but it can't be imposed sort of as a catch-up or clawback after the 15th of January. It evaporates effectively. So that's something that's really important to be aware of. And of course, protection from eviction as well is a really important component of the scheme as well. Just quickly, in terms of some of the broader support we can provide, we can mediate any commercial dispute that you have. So that could be business to business, it could be government, not-for-profit. Some of the disputes we're seeing which are not related to COVID at all, but we're continuing to receive, could be things like you've ordered something that you either didn't receive, or it wasn't the right quality, or you've provided services to another business and they haven't paid, or they're arguing over the quality of the work that you did. So issues around supply of services and quality of goods is sort of a core aspect of disputes that we see. So don't worry about definition of small business. There's a few definitions of small business in different government contexts, but for the purpose of getting help with the Commission, if you consider yourself to be a small business, we will help you. I think we've only had to turn one away, which I think was a listed company at some point. We said, no, you can help yourself. So don't worry about do you fit the definitions or the like. Don't hesitate to reach out to us for support. I'd also just like to remind you all of the various supports which are available to support your mental health at the moment. We're all going through such a hard time here in Victoria, and you have the added burden of not only experiencing that as a human and an individual in your own personal life, and the worry that you might have for your family and friends and the pressures of lockdown and the like, but of course you've got the pressure on top of that of running a small business and everything that comes with that. So there's a great number of free supports which are available to help you. There's a Partners in Wellbeing hotline, and it's up there on the slides for you as well, which is available 7 days a week, and it's specifically tailored for small business people. So you can get some great help there. Sometimes it's just the ability to talk to someone outside your family, outside your personal connections, just to be able to talk about how you're feeling, have some ideas potentially about how you can support yourself as well, sort that it's okay at the moment to say you're not okay, and there's a lot of help available to support you. That includes financial experts as well, which is obviously really critical at the moment, particularly as you start to look forward with the roadmap and start thinking about recovery. And we're really conscious here at the Commission that deferred liabilities doesn't just extend to rent. Many of you may have incurred deferred liabilities with other loan facilities that perhaps the banks have sort of paused payments or reduced payments for you, or your credit card's maxed out or what have you. So there's some financial experts who are available to help you sort of plan a longer term pathway out. Beyond Blue, which you'd all be familiar with, has some great services through New Access available for small businesses, where you can get 6 free sessions with a coach. So really encourage you to have a look either through our website or through the links which you'll get in the slide deck as well. We've also created a mental health plan guide for small businesses, which is available on our website as well. We partner with Beyond Blue to do that. So that's got some really practical tips on things you can do even at the best of times, but this is particularly through the COVID lens as well. And as I mentioned before, our website has a heap of information available to you on there. So that's just the landing page there. So we've got a big banner, you can't miss it, at the top around COVID, and that blue square there takes you through to the information specific to the commercial tenancy relief scheme. So just a reminder that we are here to help. You can reach out to us in a few different ways. We've got our helpline where you can also call for assistance and talk to a real person. We've got our email inquiries and of course the website as well. So very happy to answer any questions that you have at the end. But thank you for your time and facilitating this today, Kate. It's great to be able to share some of the supports that are available at the moment.
Thanks so much, Commissioner. That was really great information about how the Small Business Commission can help step businesses through the commercial tenancy relief scheme process. It sounds like there's a lot of support there through the dispute resolution and of course great to have those mental health and wellbeing support services. So we'll take you up on your offer as well to share those slides. Thanks so much. Next up, we have our guest from the Department of Jobs, Precincts and Regions. First up is Barbara Cullen, Director, Industry Sector Engagement, Industry Coordination and Recovery. So we'll hand over to you. Thanks so much, Barbara.
Thanks, Kate, and hello, everyone. Today I'm going to talk to you, next slide, please, Kate. Today I'm going to talk to you about the COVID-19 recovery roadmap that the Victorian Government has launched. Next slide, please, Kate. It's based on expert modelling from the Burnett Institute, which shows that the key to business and community opening and reducing risk is making sure that workers across the state are vaccinated. A couple of weeks ago, Victoria reached its first vaccination target on the roadmap to reopening, with 80% of Victorians having received their first dose of a COVID-19 vaccine. Next slide, please. The key indicative dates in the roadmap are the 26th of October, so not that long away, a few weeks. 70% of Victorians are expected to have had both doses of a COVID-19 vaccine. This is called Phase B in the National Plan, and at this stage, lockdown in Melbourne will end. The next milestone is then the 5th of November, where 80% of Victorians aged 16 and over are expected to have had both doses of a vaccine. And this is Phase C of the National Plan. And this is the stage, and you can see it here in the yellow bit. The long bit is when regional Victoria and metropolitan Melbourne come together under the same rules. So that's when we get to 80% of Victorians over age 16 having had both doses of the vaccine. And then on the 19th of November, once 80% of Victorians aged 12 and over are fully vaccinated, restrictions align with phase D of the national plan, and there's not a lot of detail yet on that stage. Next slide, please. When 80% of Victorians aged 16 and over have had both doses, workers can work from home or they can return to workplaces if they're fully vaccinated. And as is currently the case, the restricted activity directions will continue to be published as restrictions change and we move through the phases indicated in the roadmap. And a density quotient of 1 person per 2 square metres will apply in areas that are not accessible to the public, and masks will be required inside. So until then, people will work from home if they can. So the most important message is for you to encourage your members of staff to be having discussions with them about booking a vaccination today. And the government has released or announced that it is intending that all people who leave home to work must be fully vaccinated to enter that workplace or to work outside in their workplace as well. And these people at the moment are in a list on the coronavirus website called the Authorised Providers and Authorised Workers list. And the first dose is required by Friday the 15th of October and the second dose by Friday the 26th of October. So this will be some mandatory or required vaccination for these workers. And by workers, it means anyone who goes to work, not necessarily an employee, but they might be a contractor as well. So we will await tonight at 11:59 p.m. tonight. The government will make the direction that will provide this list of workers, and it will give employers a basis on which to feel comfortable that they have a sort of a regulatory framework backing them to require their staff to be fully vaccinated to be able to work. Next slide, please. We've also got some information resources for you, for your teams, and we have translated materials. In the part of the department that I work in, the Industry Coordination and Recovery Group, we have the CALD and Aboriginal Engagement Team, and they work very closely with community groups and business leaders in the culturally and linguistically diverse communities to make sure that people and business owners in those communities understand the requirements that they have to have those discussions with their staff about vaccination, but also to have a COVID-safe plan and to be observing and implementing the requirements that they need to operate in during those different periods and different phases. So we've got some called resources on the coronavirus website, and we've got quite a bit of translated materials into 57 languages. And of course, the Business Victoria hotline, the 132215 number, also has free translation services. Next slide, please. And then there's more information on the roadmap and the metro roadmap and the regional roadmap and the timeframes, and just a little bit of information and on each of those roadmaps and the particular indicative dates when it's anticipated that changes will happen. But it is worth remembering that the roadmap is not fixed, it's indicative only, and that, as we always hear, that due to epidemiological information at the time, that the government will make its decisions and publish more detail on the different directions and the different COVID-safe settings that apply based on that advice from the public health officials. So I recommend that you subscribe to the Business Victoria update, and I think Melissa will talk a bit about that later, to stay up to date with information about what is happening along the road of the roadmap. And similarly, there are frequently asked questions on the on the coronavirus website, and lots of information about that as well. And then something else I would like you to know about is that the Department of Health is providing free webinars to answer your questions about vaccination. These are clinical experts, so for instance, Professor Ben Cowie and Dr. Thomas Schultz and Associate Professor Margie Duncan are conducting free webinars. I'll put the registration details in the chat, and one is at lunchtime today, 1 o'clock. There's one at 6 o'clock tonight, and there's another one at 12 o'clock midday tomorrow, and they'll continue into next week as well. And they will present very factual information about the vaccines and then take questions as well and answer questions, because I know that a lot of businesses and a lot of staff have particular questions and concerns about vaccines if they haven't been vaccinated already, and they're holding back until they are a bit more clear about that. So you can ask those questions quite confidently in the session, and they'll be answered by one of the vaccine experts. So I'll put those bits of information up in the chat. So that's about it for me, I think. There's the last slide is just questions. So I'll answer some questions later in the chat as well. Thanks.
Thanks. Thank you so much for that, Barbara. And yeah, we'll make all that information available. Look, I understand we had a problem earlier with the link, so apologies for that, and thank you everybody for your patience. I'd like to remind you that the session will be available on YouTube after the event for you to watch, to catch up if you missed the beginning, and also so it will be available to share. We'll also be going through shortly. We'll have another slide about how you can submit your questions in case you missed that earlier. But first, I'll hand you over to Melissa Virgos, who's the Senior Project Officer, Delivery Network, Jobs, Innovation and Business Engagement. Thank you, Melissa.
Hello, everyone. I am Melissa, and I manage the Delivery Network team over at Small Business Victoria. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about available support for business. If you just want to jump across to the next slide there. There are several grants and rebates that businesses may be eligible for, and I'd like to bring your attention to the following. We have the Business Costs Assistance Program Round 4 for construction, and this will provide support to eligible businesses, including sole traders who were impacted by restrictions between the 21st of September to the 4th of October. Non-employing businesses will receive a $2,000 grant, and employing businesses will receive grants ranging from $2,800 to $8,400 depending on their payroll size. Businesses must have had a work site located in metropolitan Melbourne, the City of Greater Geelong, Mitchell Shire or the Surf Coast Shire. The Business Cost Assistance Program Round 4 construction will launch in mid-October, and I recommend subscribing to the Business Victoria newsletter to keep up with all the latest program updates, including when that program opens. I'll talk to you a little bit more later on about how you can subscribe to that newsletter. Next up, we've got the Business Cost Assistance Program Round 5 payments. From the 1st of October to the 29th of October, fortnightly payments for businesses in metropolitan Melbourne and regional Victoria in areas under lockdown restrictions. Payments will also be provided for impacted businesses in eligible ANZAC classes located in areas not subject to stay-at-home restrictions. And then from the 29th of October to the 13th of November, fortnightly payments for businesses in Metro Melbourne and regional Victoria in eligible ANZAC classes that remain closed or heavily restricted. These are available to recipients of the Business Costs Assistance Program Round 2 and the Business Cost Assistance Program Round 2 July extension. Payments for these will be tiered based on the following. So we've got $1,000 per week for non-employing businesses, $2,800 per week for employing businesses with no payroll or an annual payroll below 650,000, 5,600 a week for employing businesses with an annual payroll between 650,000 and less than 3 million, and then 8,400 per week for employing businesses with an annual payroll between 3 million and 10 million. Eligible recipients will be paid on a fortnightly basis, and these payments are in line with Victoria's roadmap and thresholds for vaccination. I'll also bring your attention to the Licensed Hospitality Venue Fund 2021 October and November payments. Automatic top-up payments are being made to more than 8,900 hospitality venues across Victoria that received funding support from the Licensed Hospitality Venue Fund or the Licensed Hospitality Fund Venue Fund extension, July extension. Fortnightly top-up payments will be made to businesses in Metro Melbourne and regional Victoria from the 1st of October and the 13th of November. Weekly amounts for this are stepped according to the premises capacity, $5,000 for a capacity of up to 99 patrons, or where patron capacity is not specified, and $10,000 for a capacity of 100 to 499 patrons, and $20,000 for a capacity of more than 500. Between 70% and 80% double dose, when we hit those, payments for licensed premises in Metro Melbourne will be reduced to 25% and in regional Victoria by 50% as the economy continues to progress to greater levels of freedom. If you just want to jump onto the next slide there. Some additional support available. We have the Small Business Digital Adaptation Program, which provides $1,200 in rebates, so small businesses can access a range of digital business tools. We've partnered with 14 suppliers to help businesses build or upgrade their websites, improve cash flow, start online marketing, manage your jobs and projects, and keep better track of stock. And up until the point where Victoria reaches 80% full vaccination, sole traders and micro businesses that lose work because of this, they may be eligible for the Commonwealth's COVID-19 disaster payment. The payment of $450 for people who have lost less than 20 hours of work over a 7-day period, and $750 for people who have lost 20 hours or more. Business owners who wish to apply can access this by contacting the Business Victoria Concierge Service on 132215 and can schedule an appointment to help them with making an application. We'll just jump over to the next slide, please. What other financial supports are in place to help businesses and workers directly impacted by the COVID-19 infection? We have the Victorian workers can apply for the COVID-19 test isolation payment that provides financial support whilst they self-isolate to wait for the results of their test. There is the pandemic leave disaster payment, which is for people who have been told to quarantine or isolate or are caring for someone with COVID-19. If you're eligible, you will receive $1,500 for each 14-day period that you isolate, quarantine, or care for someone who has COVID-19. And for more information on that, you can visit the Services Australia website on servicesaustralia.gov.au. There is also the COVID-safe deep cleaning rebate, which is available for small and medium-sized businesses where anyone suspected to have COVID-19 has been on premises or work site when they may have been infectious. There is also payroll tax relief available, deferring of the 2020 and 21 payroll tax liabilities for employers with Victorian payrolls of up to $10 million based on their 2019-20 financial year returns, and this will occur in the until the 2021 and 22 financial year. There is also waiving of the 2021 and the 21-22 payroll tax after applying the new jobs payroll tax credit. More information on that can be found at the State Revenue Office website, which is sro.vic.gov.au /coronavirus. Just jump over to the next slide, please. And we've got some support there, other support services, mental health and wellbeing support. Now, I know the Commissioner did speak a bit about the Partners in Wellbeing helpline, but I think it is important to speak about this further. It's a confidential one-on-one service that provides support for small business owners and employers through experienced professional and wellbeing coaches, financial counsellors and business advisors. The helpline number there is 1300 375 330. If ongoing support is needed, these wellbeing coaches can keep in regular contact to provide emotional support, practical assistance, and help you use strategies to manage stress or anxiety and improve wellbeing. Other support that I'd like to bring your attention to is the Business Resilience and Recovery Mentoring Program, where eligible business owners can receive up to 4 two-hour mentoring sessions for free to help them make informed decisions about the future of their business. Business Victoria also offers workshops and free business advice. For people interested in training and development, we've recently relaunched our workshops and business advice program. The business training is designed to suit different learning preferences, so you can enjoy live webinars, participate in a facilitated virtual session, or undertake self-paced online courses just on your computer at home. The top courses for enrolments at the moment are currently Starting a Business, Generating Cash Flow, Taking Your Business Online, and Winning Government Business. Business owners can also book a free 45-minute session with an experienced advisor who can help you set business goals, resolve financial issues, develop a business action plan or and go over business recovery strategies. Bookings for that can be made online and face-to-face sessions when they allow in future, once restrictions start to ease. We also have the Upskill My Business website, which provides Victorian small businesses with access to free online courses and resources to help them recover from COVID-19. And there is the Jobs Victoria Fund, which provides businesses, sole traders, social enterprises and organisations with wage subsidies of up to $20,000 for eligible employers who hire eligible job seekers. There are so many grants. How can people find out what they're eligible for and what they want to access? If you just want to jump over to the next slide, please. Our Business Victoria website, and this is a screenshot of it here. You'll see very easy to navigate, and it'll sort of provide you with access to those services and support. And the next slide again there, and you'll see there we have the virtual mentoring sessions. If you click on that workshops and mentoring tab, you can then book the next available session with a mentor or access the workshops available there. And I'll just jump over to the next one there. And the best way to stay up to date with all of the business grants available and everything that I've spoken about today is to sign up to the Business Victoria's fortnightly newsletter. And you can sign up there at business.vic.gov.au. And that'll keep you up to date on everything sort of happening. If you're wishing to speak with someone about anything on the website and find out more, you can also call the Business Victoria hotline on 132215. And as I mentioned earlier as well, we also have a dedicated concierge service for sole traders or micro businesses that you can access via the hotline and select the concierge service option. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Melissa, for that. There's certainly a lot of support available, and a reminder to everybody, we'll make this information available to you, and you can watch this again using the link if you missed anything from the session. Before we move into the Q&A section of the session, I'd like to take this opportunity to tell you a little bit about some of the services Council offers our business community. Next slide, please. Council's Economic Development Department can help businesses find answers to their questions regarding COVID regulations and support programs. This includes sourcing and providing information in languages other than English, so we're happy to help direct you to that information. Over the past few months, you may have seen one of our COVID or several of our COVID business support officers in your area. They're there to help businesses and owners and operators operate in a safe and compliant manner. They are there to help, so if you do see them in your area, please give them a wave if you have any questions, and they'll be happy to help. I know they've helped people with setting up their COVID plans and with their QR codes. So yeah, they can help take you through those things step by step. If you are looking to start a new business, or perhaps you're thinking about expanding your business or figuring out what permits you may need in order to change your premises, our business concierge service can help coordinate council advice for you. Next slide, please. Council's regular business e-newsletter is the best way to stay informed with up-to-date information on grants, regulations affecting your businesses, support, our events programs, as well as business success stories and other opportunities that may arise for your business. I strongly encourage you to sign up on Council's website or call us. We'll provide your details on a later slide, and we can sign you up. That newsletter is monthly, but when there is new information about the grants and support or regulations changing, we do also send out updates as we go. Council also provides information on our Whittlesea localised platform. That platform's for business-to-business connections. We also provide information on events there. There is a business community notice board and marketplace. It's also easy and free to register. Next slide, please. For hospitality businesses, the state government supported City of Whittlesea. We've been rolling out some street upgrades and outdoor dining furniture to support outdoor dining. That's if you do have any interest in any furniture particulars we're looking to reopen, please get in touch. Also, Council's Explore Whittlesea platform supports and promotes hospitality and entertainment businesses with a focus on supporting visitor economy and local spending. We'll also be rolling out some public awareness campaigns in the coming months to align with the easing of restrictions. To find out any more information about our services or platforms, please, our contact details, we'll put them up on the screen at the end. Thanks, Amy. In terms of questions, you may have missed it earlier. So up on the screen now, we're using Mentimeter for questions. So you can submit your questions by using your QR code scanner on your smartphone there, which will take you to the page where you can just write your question, and I can direct that to our panel in a moment. If the QR code doesn't work for you, or you can't access that, just go to menti.com and enter the code 22905401. And so I think with that, we do have some questions already, and I'd like to invite our presenters to turn their cameras on and rejoin us. Thanks so much. The first question I'll probably direct to Barbara Cullen. Do businesses such as beauty salons and cafes have to deny service, or do they have to deny entry to non-vaccinated clients and customers? And how would a business owner safely refuse entry to non-vaccinated patrons?
Thanks, Kate, and thanks for that question. We don't exactly have the advice yet on how businesses will do that and go about that. tonight at 11:59 p.m. we're expecting the COVID-19 mandatory vaccination directions to be issued or to be made, and they're quite complex, these ones. These are the directions that I referred to in the presentation about the authorised premises and authorised workers list. So we are expecting those to be made this evening. Usually those directions are made by the public health lawyers and the Chief Health Officer. At this time, these particular directions are being made by the Solicitor General to sort of ensure that there's enough coverage for businesses there, and that they have the platform that they need to be able to make those decisions with their staff. So we will have more information and frequently asked questions available tomorrow morning to deal with questions like that the businesses will have. But the expectation is, as the government has said, that everyone who leaves home to go to work should be vaccinated or will be fully vaccinated. And that means that, and there's an expectation that, you know, we will get to 70% and then 80% fully vaccinated in the population. And so there is an expectation that people will be fully vaccinated. So we'll have more information. So I'm sorry I can't answer that specifically at the moment, but there will be more information on the website, and that's the coronavirus website. And we will certainly be sending information about that to our stakeholder groups, including the City of Whittlesea. So they'll be able to put that information on the website that's available to the businesses here.
Okay, thanks so much. We'll keep an eye out for that, and we'll share that information as it does come to hand. This question is, what does a business do if they become aware that they've been exposed to COVID via a staff member or a client?
Thanks. Again, I put that some information in the chat. I don't know if it's visible, but there's a page on the coronavirus website that is about case alerts, and it has all the latest updated exposure sites. But there's also some really good information about what you need to do if your business is an exposure site, different tiers, tier 1, tier 2, tier 3. But there's also information about whether you've been to any of the locations or any of your staff are identified as having either transmitting or have the virus. Therefore, there's some specific points that you need to follow. There's a self-assessment form there. There's a phone number to call, and there's also places to get a list of places to get tested. So there's lots of information online, and that's your first port of call, is to read that information. It's probably just a good idea to familiarise yourself with it anyway. So because there are so many exposure sites at the moment, and it's easy to go and get a coffee or something and not realise that you've been to an exposure site. So it's a good idea or a good practice for businesses to have a look at that list of exposure sites every day.
Okay, thank you. With cleaning, I note that there's support for deep cleaning services. Is that something that a business owner would need to arrange themselves?
Melissa, do you want that one, or is?
Sorry, I was just trying to find the unmute button there. Classic 2021 problems. So businesses are required then to provide or to organise their own deep cleaning, and then the deep cleaning rebates or details of that are available on the Business Vic website and how they can access the rebate.
Thanks so much, Lisa. I'm not sure if we know the answer to this question yet, but I'm happy to take your advice, and this is for anybody on the panel who may be able to answer it. Once the 80% vaccination target is achieved, will double vaccinated workers have to isolate for 14 days if they test positive for COVID?
I think you preempted that well, Kate. At the moment, they do have to, but we don't know what the directions will provide in the future. We've got some very broad guidance on the roadmap about what the settings are, but in terms of how individual cases are treated, or generally the requirements about isolating upon being identified as being exposed to the virus, we don't know. So it's a watch and see, I think, and really it is all guided by that public health advice.
Okay, thanks so much. And also, once the state reaches 80%, will exposure sites still be reported upon, and will businesses be identified as an exposure site still have to follow the current guidelines, or are we expecting a change there?
And I don't know about any changes, but businesses are required to follow the directions and comply with them. So whatever the directions require at the time, you should follow them.
Just bear with me. So with mandatory vaccinations coming in, who can I turn to for support with employees who don't want to get vaccinated, but I need them to be vaccinated to keep the business going?
Again, I think we should, maybe I'll let...
Go ahead, Barbara. No, you go ahead.
Okay, I think let's wait and see what the directions say this evening and the frequently asked questions, because there will be, we've certainly collected a lot of intelligence from businesses and industry groups about the concerns that businesses have to do with mandatory vaccination requirements. And so we've been channeling them to my colleagues who are preparing the frequently asked questions. So I'm hoping that these questions will be answered in those points, but businesses can seek their own legal advice. There is advice on the Human Rights Commission website, and I think Linda might talk about the Fair Work Commission too, because there's some great service there too.
That's right. Thanks, Barbara. So, so the Commonwealth Fair Work Ombudsman is providing a service at the moment where small to medium-sized businesses who have workplace-related questions to do with COVID can receive 4 hours of free legal advice from an independent law firm. So I'll pop the link in the chat there so you have that. You can basically jump onto fairworkfwo.gov.au and you can jump in and you can actually apply to be part of that program. And what happens, that I understand, is they refer you onto a panel of great law firms that they've agreed to take on the work, and then you can have 4 hours of free legal advice, and you can split that up. It doesn't have to be all in the one chunk either. So if you've got a specific scenario where you're dealing with an employee who's refusing to be vaccinated or saying they just won't do it, and you're wondering what your obligations or your legal options are from a workplace relations perspective, you can get some great legal advice for that as well. So I'll shoot you through the link into the chat as well.
Thanks so much. I think that one's coming through a bit, definitely. A lot of our businesses are needing to understand that. So also, what can a business legally ask for as proof of vaccination? How do they establish whether an employee is being vaccinated or not?
The Service Victoria app will do that for us. There are trials in planning at the moment, a small number of trials in regional Victoria, and they'll run from next week for 2 weeks, just prior to us all going, hopefully, to use this service. The Service Victoria app will connect with your Medicare app. There's a few steps that you will have to take yourself to access your or connect your certificate to your MyGov account, and then connect your MyGov account to your Express Plus Medicare app. And then that app will connect through a step, we'll be told how to connect that Medicare app to our Service Victoria app. And you'll be able to, I think it's going to be either a noise and a tick for your QR code check-in and vaccination status, double dosed, I guess. So the technology is being done at the moment, and we will all be advised how to do that. So my recommendation is for people to go through that process of connecting their MyGov account to their Medicare app, and there are some really easy steps that are on the MyGov account website, and it takes you through that. I've done it, so I reckon anybody could do it if I can do it. And for people who don't have a smartphone or don't use a smartphone, there are other, paper-based potentially, and other means being developed as well. So we'll be told in due course in the next few weeks about how to make that happen. But that will be a technology solution, hopefully, that, well, it will be, that you do like your QR code check-in.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. Thanks for that. We've got a few questions in regarding the grants and support. So Melissa, I might, some for you here. Just to confirm, if I have received a grant before, do I need to reapply for grants, or will my business automatically be assessed for eligibility?
Yeah, no, so top-up payments will automatically occur for the licensed hospitality and the business cost assistance program. So people do not need to apply again.
Okay, so that's for, just if you could repeat those programs again.
Yep, so the business cost assistance program, we're currently up to the round 5 payments. And so that will have an automatic top up, and then also the licensed hospitality venue fund.
Okay, thank you. This one seems to be about the commercial tenancy arrangements. So I'm on job seeker payment, but work as a sole trader on my massage business. I have a room lease in the city, but I'm not getting any support from last year till now. Is any help available from me?
It would. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Okay. Sorry. Was there more information there?
No, that's
Okay.
fine.
Okay, it would depend on whether or not it's an eligible lease. So I would encourage you, in the circumstances, to give our number, our hotline, a call as well. So which is in all the information is available in the links as well, to talk through that. If you do, part of it will depend on if you actually have a lease in terms of an eligible commercial lease. If there's sort of formality around that might be one of the things, in terms of if it's a room, if it's renting of a room, for example, because there needs to be a commercial lease in place. So that's probably a threshold issue. And I know from businesses sometimes you can have some, similar to hairdressers, where, you might hire a chair, or, massage, or hire a room, or allied health sometimes hiring a room as well. There's a whole range of different variations that you can have. So I'd encourage you to jump on our website and give us a call. We can talk you through your specific circumstances.
Thank you. In terms of the grants again, Melissa, how long will the funding be available for after we've reached 80%, or what's the current? What do we see the current sort of end dates for these supports?
Yeah, sure. So as I covered in the presentation, so from the 1st of October to the 29th of October, fortnightly payments for businesses in Metro Melbourne will be made, and regional Victoria, in areas under lockdown restriction, and this includes the eligible ANZAC classes that are still restricted to stay-at-home restrictions. And then I'm just having a look here. And then from the 29th of October to the 13th of November, it drops down to fortnightly payments for businesses in Metro Melbourne and regional Victoria. So seems like 13th of November is sort of that cut-off period at this stage.
Okay. This one, again, is regarding the QR code scanning. So perhaps, Barbara, I've seen reports that the QR code scanning will also include a person's vaccination status. Is that right? So is that what you were referring to before with respect to connecting the MyGov with Service Vic app?
That's right. Yes, Kate. So connecting MyGov, your MyGov account that has your vaccine certificate in it, connecting that to your Medicare app that you can download onto your smartphone. And then that Medicare app will be connected to your Service Victoria app. And I think, and pretty hopefully, the two, QR check-in and vaccine status, I guess, will be pinged at the same time. So we haven't seen it yet. So we'll just wait and see when the trials start next week in a few regional centres. We might have a bit of an indication then of what that technology will look like.
Okay, thank you. Here we go. If I roster a member of my team to be a COVID marshal, can they carry out any other jobs whilst on that COVID marshal shift?
I think it's probably best to have a look at the information about a COVID marshal. There's a difference between a COVID marshal and a check-in marshal, COVID check-in marshal. The COVID marshal is responsible for monitoring the business's COVID safe plan and performs other duties like checking if people are wearing face masks or doing all the requirements in the premises of the business. And a COVID check-in marshal is simply a staff member who makes sure that people are checking in as they come into the premises. The COVID marshal has to do the COVID marshal training, which is the infection control training that's available on the coronavirus website. So I might post some information because there is a difference between the two, and it tells you exactly what the COVID marshal is required to do. They can do other activities, but they have to be the COVID marshal all the time. So they can't, for instance, be a bar person serving people at the bar and be doing the COVID marshal tasks as well, because they are, it's a constant monitoring role. So they can't be doing the two, which require quite a bit of attention equally. So I'll post some information in the chat about the role.
Thank you for that. We have a question regarding the Small Business Commission, and is there a central place at the Commission for legal advice? My business is only small and I do not have a legal team or HR department to help me with the upcoming mandates.
So the Commission doesn't, as an independent agency, we don't provide legal advice. So if you're wanting legal advice, you'd need to seek legal advice through your own channels. If it relates to implementation of the mandate with respect to your staff, you can rely on the one that's available through the Fair Work Ombudsman. Other places where you can potentially get more tailored advice to your particular circumstances. I'm not sure if you would be a member of an industry association or a chamber. A number of those provide sort of free initial legal advice or low cost access to legal advice as well. So, and I'm not sure if the department has broader legal advice available, but I think generally it's at a more industry based level, and for individual circumstances you need to seek your own legal advice.
Thank you for that. This one as well, my staff are nervous about asking people for identification. Is there any training that you would recommend to help this? So, or yeah, training, I think to be checking, I'd anticipate that one's about vaccination status.
I think that again, as Linda referred to industry associations, I think if people can look to their industry association for that type of training, it possibly would depend on the type of business. So whether it's retail, whether it's supermarket, different types of retail, whether it's hospitality, whether it's manufacturing, it really does depend on the types of customers you have or patrons coming in, and also the type of training that's already available. So because some industry sectors already have that check-in process operating. People have to do bag checks, they have to monitor people coming in and ask them already various questions. So my suggestion would be to talk to your industry association about training, because I do know that quite a few of them are already providing training for businesses to take account of these additional checks that are being required.
Okay, thank you.
And also the FAQs on the website, but they're not about training.
Yeah.
It's the definitely the industry associations that can help here.
I might also mention here on our Upskill My Business website, we do have the Australian Retailers Association has a course that is customer service in times of social distancing that could be quite relevant to retail businesses. So I'd certainly recommend checking that out.
Thanks for that one. Also, Melissa, this might be for yourself or Barbara. Where can I go to access information in other languages?
Yeah, sure. So the small business, so the Business Victoria website does have translated services for a lot of our grant programs, so you can access those directly on the site. It will have the translations there for you. Otherwise, our Business Victoria hotline also offers translations if you're wanting to speak with someone.
Okay. Okay. Even I'm not sure if this is one that can be answered today, or if we're waiting for the orders this evening. Even if my workers are not classed as essential, can I still mandate them to get vaccinated, and will I be legally supported to do so?
I guess we do have to wait and see what's specifically in the orders tonight, but as a business owner, yes, you can make rules about your business. That's a very general thing, but I would just say legal advice, seek legal advice, take advantage of the Fair Work Ombudsman's offer for some free legal advice, but let's wait and see what's in the directions tonight.
Thank you. There's a question here which I think is about showing vaccination status, but I'll broaden it out to be about checking in generally. If I'm going to a shopping centre like Westfield, will I need to check in and show proof of vaccination to enter each individual shop or premises within those larger centres, or is it doing that once on admission or entry?
Again, we'll find out when we have a bit more information, and we have those frequently asked questions available to us as well.
I think currently with the general QR codes, there's a QR code for a centre as you enter the building, and so scanning in then as well as scanning into the individual.
Yeah.
Still got lots of questions here. So here's one. You mentioned council, and I can take this one. You mentioned council having outdoor dining available for businesses. Can I speak to somebody about that? Absolutely. If you call our call in council on our main number, you'll be directed to our economic development department. We can find out a little bit more about what you need, what you're after, the space that you may have available, and we can talk through that. I know we have some outdoor dining furniture that's out there at the moment and not able to be used, but as we look to reopen, we're very keen to make sure that we can support our businesses, those that do have the space, to help them to trade if they've got sort of limitations on the number of patrons they can have in their premises.
Kate, if I can also offer, we're in the process of developing up some material to support councils in this space, because we appreciate that there are a number of small businesses who are very kindly offered sort of space in front of their footpath, if you like, in front of their shops or whatever, to their neighbouring business that maybe was expanding out for dining and things like that as well. And now with some of the incoming things around the roadmap about, you know, trading outdoors, there is a potential maybe for next door neighbours to come into a little bit of conflict about who can use the footpath paved space and everything. So we're very much here to help councils and also the small businesses involved from a dispute resolution perspective if it gets to that as well. So we'll shoot that through when that's available, Kate, but we're here as a backup to support you in supporting your small businesses as well.
That's fantastic. Thanks for that. I'll also add, with respect to the outdoor dining furniture, just to keep a lookout, because council will be having a campaign soon that will be starting to encourage our residents to return to dining outside and those opportunities. So we hope that will help to reactivate some of those areas and help get some clientele to businesses that have been affected. I've got a reminder here as well, thank you, from Barbara Cullen, which is that not all businesses do require a COVID marshal. Find out if your business needs a COVID marshal or COVID check-in at the coronavirus.vic.gov website. There's some information there. Bear with me while I just look for some additional questions. There's one which I think relates to sole traders or operators going to homes. So how would you check the vaccination status of suppliers of home-based services? For example, checking if you have somebody like a tradesperson coming to your house or somebody coming to mow the lawns. Should that? Do we have any advice for how that should happen or occur? I'll pass to Barbara.
I was just having trouble finding my button for some reason. Again, we'll know tonight. I'll post the link. There is a COVID vaccination information on the website already, so we've got some information there. I'll pop the link in the chat. But it does. That was something we were quite concerned to clarify for businesses, was about home-based businesses. Even tradespeople coming into the home, and what are the requirements around checking for vaccination status there. So yes, it's been quite something that's been front of mind for us as we've worked through these issues.
Okay. Look, I'd like to thank everybody. It seems we don't have any more questions coming through, so I'd just love to take this opportunity to thank our guests so much for the information that you've provided. There's so much there. We will be making sure we provide this information to people who are registered to attend, and I'll also see what we can do about putting the information up on our website. A reminder that you can use the link for the session to view after or at the conclusion of this event, and please do share it around. But that's it. That concludes our event for today. So thank you so much, Barbara and Commissioner and Melissa. We very much appreciate it. Thank you so much for your time.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Kate. Good luck to everyone as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.